Hello, everyone. Here we are again. And before we begin, yes, this is a time when you can send in your questions, or we're live, so you can actually let us know your questions live. But today we're going to talk about the sixth sense. So our topic today is the sixth sense. We have once again been inundated with questions, but we are limiting the questions a little bit today because the explanation of the sixth sense is a little bit long. So we're probably only going to have 2 or 3 questions today. Excuse me. We're probably going to only have 2 or 3 questions today. But what is the sixth sense? What does the sixth sense entail? We know that we have 5 natural senses. We have the sense of sight, the sense of touch, taste, smell, and hearing. Okay, and those of us who are, those of us who have those 5 senses fully, we use them in a limited way. Most of us. For those who perhaps do not have one of those 5 senses, for instance, if someone is deaf or if someone is blind, what very often happens is that one of our other senses will become more acute. Will become either, if we're blind, maybe our hearing will become more acute, or if we are deaf, maybe our sight or our sense of touch will become more acute. However, whatever it is, we have those, basically most of us have those 5 senses. When we are connecting to our spiritual self, when we're connecting to our soul and we're trying to connect to the heartbeat of our soul, it's very important that we are, let's say, tuned in. And one of the phrases that we use in our world, in my world, is that we become tuned in. Or another of those phrases is we raise our level of consciousness to a point where we can be more sensitive, more aware, and so on and so forth. Okay, so very, very basically, this is what our sixth sense is. Our sixth sense, and we all have the ability to have that sixth sense and to hone it and to tune it finely, some of us more so than others. But our sixth sense is simply our 5 common senses: sight, touch, hearing, smell, and whatever the other one was, taste. And we have those 5 senses. And when those 5 senses become, let's say, more acute, they become in line with each other. We, so for instance, when we are tasting something, but other of our senses will kick in. We know that if we're eating, it's very important what we see, because what we see encourages our taste buds. So the connection between the eyes and the taste is very strong. When we hear, if we're listening to a piece of music, for instance, we can listen, and our ears are in tune, that sense is in tune. If we close our eyes, we will often get visions of just beautiful scenery or colors or what have you. So our senses all connect with each other. When our 5 senses connect in a way that is, making them more acute, we become more acutely aware of what is around us, what we're feeling, what we're seeing, what we're hearing, what we're tasting even. When those 5 senses become acute, our sixth sense comes from all of those 5 senses. When they come together, our sixth sense kicks in. Let's say our sixth sense flowers. It grows. We attain that higher level of consciousness, of awareness. We become more aware of not just in front of us, not just what we can see with our eyes, we see with our soul, we see with our sixth sense. And we become more aware, so we are more aware of what is going on around us, not just in this world, but perhaps if we're really lucky, we can change that level of consciousness which reaches up and reaches out to take us into that next world where we can sense, where we can feel, we can see, we can, in every way, using all of our senses, in every way, we can perhaps see those in the spirit world. We might be able to connect in that way with our grandmother or our grandfather. We might be able to connect with our child. We might connect with whoever it is that we have lost. Because while we are trying to achieve that level, that higher level of consciousness, so that we can reach out to them, believe me, as we are reaching out to them, they are surely reaching out to us. And our sixth sense, that sixth sense, which is developed from all of our five senses getting in tune, getting aligned, will take us to that place where we might be able to sense, to see, to even to hear those in the spirit world, because it's sort of like this fine tuning that goes on, the vibrational level that we achieve through tuning into our sixth sense, and the vibrational level that those in the spirit world have connects like this, and we come together. So our sixth sense is simply our five senses becoming more attuned. Now, you can in fact develop your sixth sense, or there are many, many different exercises that you can use to develop the five senses. Forget the sixth sense. Forget that you're developing the sixth sense. If you work on making your five senses more acute, more in tune, if you work on those five senses and develop those five senses, your sixth sense automatically will just kick in. Let's have our first question from Carolyn, who I have with me. And also, before I go any further, let me just remind you all that I have my spirit guide Gregel, who is standing to my right side here, and is going to help me with some of these questions. So Carolyn, what is the question for today?
First one is Joe from Ohio asking, can anybody develop their sixth sense, or are some of us not in tune enough?
Well, Joe from Ohio, thank you for writing in. Thank you for your question. All right, so yes, everyone can develop that sixth sense, and as I've just explained, developing that sixth sense is about developing our five common senses. And I think the second part of your question was, are some of us not sensitive enough? I don't think it's about being not sensitive enough. I think it's about being perhaps not aware enough, or perhaps not wanting to put in the time and effort, because this does take time and effort for most people. Developing the sixth sense and developing that awareness, it takes time, it takes patience, it takes some understanding, and it takes us out of our comfort zone perhaps, to learn how to build our five senses to a point where they are acute, really acute, and that you're not just listening to the sounds that are around you on this earth plane, you are stretching your hearing, you're stretching so that you can listen beyond this earth, you're stretching to go across that incredible void that isn't really there for me anyway. There is no void for me, but there is for other people, because the void is that thing that you create by not trying to achieve a state of being able to hear further than or beyond your normal natural hearing. And developing your five senses is, it takes time, it takes energy, it takes consistency. So you would need to set aside a certain amount of time each day. It doesn't have to be a long time, but you have to be consistent over a period of weeks or even of months, and sometimes with people for even longer than that. But every one of us does have the ability to do this, and every one of us can have the knowledge of that. And I teach my students in my workshops. I'm doing a workshop in Sarasota in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think it's in September. And I'm going to be, hopefully, part of the workshop is about helping people to tune in, helping people to develop that sixth sense, helping people to become more aware and to become more enlightened and to become more knowledgeable about what is happening with us, in not only with our physical body, but in a spiritual way as well. Let's have the next question, shall we?
Susie asks, do people in the spirit world have physical bodies that know the same 5 senses as we do?
Well, hello, Susie. Do we know where Susie's from?
No.
Okay, well, Susie. Okay. Do people in the spirit world have physical bodies? We have what is known as the etheric body or the spirit body. The etheric body is the same shape, the same size as our physical body, but it is actually much more solid and in fact much more real, believe it or not, than the physical body. And the thing about the etheric body is that no matter what you do to it, you cannot destroy it. The physical body, we're fragile creatures. It takes but a moment for us to have an accident and lose an arm or a leg, or or to damage some physical part of us in one way or another. It takes but a moment for our physical body to become destroyed, for us to become paralyzed or what have you. However, the etheric body, the spirit body, is indestructible, completely indestructible, and which is why very often when people talk about having an out-of-body experience, what happens is they leave their body and they take with them the etheric body, which houses the soul, which houses what we really are, who we really are. We take that etheric body, and the etheric body is able to travel through time and space. And for instance, if you're a person who's paralyzed, your etheric body is not, and can take you traveling to wherever it is you want to go. If you are someone who's lost a leg, when you use your etheric body, you will see you're whole, you have 2 legs. And it's why when people pass into the spirit world, when they leave this earth permanently, you will often hear the phrase, "I was made whole." Because if you have cancer and you're suffering greatly and you're in pain, when you leave your body, when you travel to the other side, no more cancer. The cancer belongs to the physical body. The etheric body is whole and it's well. So when you leave and you take with you that physical body, the only pain that you will have and the only trauma that you will have is what is going on in here. What with your mind, with your spirit, with your heart, what is going on in here. So if you have, for instance, unfinished business, and you die suddenly, and you've no time to correct or to put right the thing that you wanted to put right, the pain that you will take with you will not be in your physical body. It will be what's going on in here. It will be the regrets and the sorrow that you might feel from leaving behind something that you would have rather have put right. So we have the etheric body. And if you do astral traveling, and some of you I know have had the experience of astral traveling, when you go astral traveling, it's not about using that sixth sense really, because sort of astral traveling does not necessarily mean that you have this sixth sense that you're now using. It is when you leave your physical body, you take with you all of the senses and the feelings that, you know, you have with hearing, sight, and so on, and you'll be able to see more because you're now no longer of this earth and there are no restrictions. So what was the second part of that question?
Do they have the same, the physical bodies know the same five senses as we do?
Yes, but now in a different way, and you would have those same five senses in the way that I'm suggesting. So, for instance, when you develop your five senses, if you were my student and developing those five senses with me, we would probably begin with the sense of sight, and I would show you through different exercises how you can extend your vision. And you extend your vision beyond your normal sight. So you're able to see things even if you close your eyes. You don't need your physical eyesight to see. So you're able to develop your sense of sight to a point where it's so acute that you can close your eyes and still see. And you take that sense with you. That sense is automatically there when you leave this earth. The same with hearing. If you were a student of mine, I would teach you how to develop your sense of hearing so that you were able to reach out into the universe. You're not just limited to hearing things that are on this earth plane. You are reaching out and hearing beyond your normal hearing. You see beyond your normal vision. You taste beyond your normal ability to taste. And there are ways of through exercise of teaching people how to do that. So, but when you pass and you're taking with you the etheric body, you have all of that ability. You can still see, you can still hear, but you're not using your physical eyes. You're not. There are people who believe, there's some religions in the world believe that, you know, when you bury someone, you should bury them with everything intact, because how are they going to see in the beyond if during the course of passing you went blind? How are you going to see? Well, you're not seeing with your eye, with your physical eyes and your physical eyesight. You're seeing beyond your ordinary vision. So I don't know if that answers the question, or it gives you more questions, or if it makes it more difficult for you to understand, but that's the way it is. So the answer is yes, we can develop our sixth sense, but bear in mind when you're developing that sixth sense, or you want to develop that sixth sense, it's about developing your five natural senses in order that that sixth sense can kick in. Now, for some people, like myself, and I don't know why this is, and I don't have any answers for you. So anyone who wants to write in and say, well, how do you do it? And I don't do it. I have no idea of the answers. For some people, like myself, that sixth sense is an automatic thing. We don't have to work at it. We don't have to try hard. I think there's a question about that, isn't there? Let's have that question, and then I'll talk a little bit more about that.
Well, we have the personal question today, which is, how long did it take you to develop your sixth sense, Rosemary?
So let's go into that then. So let's do that. So how long did it take me to develop my sixth sense? Well, I have to tell you, I'm one of those people. I'm one of those weird people who I didn't have to try. I didn't know anything about the need to develop anything. From the time I was very small, from the time I can remember, I've always seen, even when I've been hiding under the blankets, terrified in the dark, I've always seen. I've always heard much more. Even when I put my fingers in my ear or put earplugs in, I've heard. So I've always been able to have that ability, that sixth sense, which is it's just an automatic thing for me. I do not know why. I do not have the answers for you. do not have the answers for myself. And I have to tell you, after all these years of working as a spiritual medium and a healer, that is one question I no longer bother to ask. But I will give you an example. I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm going to give you an example of one of, not my first, but one of my first or early experiences of how the sixth sense works and how the etheric body works and how, therefore, astral traveling works. And we're going back many years. I was in Egypt, and I was at the three pyramids, which are in Giza. And I was very excited to have that experience and just to have the history of Egypt. And the Egyptians were very spiritual people. They like many ancient cultures, they knew far more about all of this stuff. It was not new to them. It was old to them. And so I was very excited to be in that country and to have this experience. So we decided to go into one of the pyramids, and we got talked into having a guide. Totally unnecessary, I have to tell you. If any of you go there, you don't need a guide. You just go up into the pyramids, and so off we went. And you have to, in the pyramids, you have to bend down almost double, and they have this tiny space that you crawl up, but you're bending down, and not only crawling up, but you're also going in, and then you come to a little landing and you cross over, and now there's another passageway that you crawl up, and you're bending down and you're crawling up this very tight space, and you're not only you crawling up, you're crawling in. It is so claustrophobic. It's horrible. It's a really claustrophobic experience. So if you're a person who gets claustrophobic, don't do it, because it's you'll and there was a point where, as we continued to climb up and into another passageway and into another passageway, I had to stop and breathe. I just had to stop and breathe because I was getting so claustrophobic, because not only was it was dark in there, it was also, it sort of got hotter and hotter, and the air got less and less. And so I stopped for a minute and breathe. And Grey Eagle said to me, "Now, come on, Rosemary, you can do this." And he calmed me down, and he said, "If you can do astral traveling, if you can go astral traveling, you can do anything." So, okay, I'll go, I'll keep going. And so between us, Grey Eagle helping me along the way, we finally came to this room, small room, where the sarcophagus sat. I'm expecting so many things, because the pyramids are so amazing. I've heard about pyramid power. I've read all about it. And I'm expecting that I'm going to get into this room, which is much smaller than you think, and I'm going to experience the power of the pyramid. Nothing. I look around the room. I walk around the room. It takes me all of 2 minutes because it's so tiny. Nothing. I'm experiencing nothing. I'm hearing nothing. I'm sensing nothing. My 5 senses seem to have shut down. Nothing. So I now have to come back out, go down this passage again, and bending double, and so on and so forth. It takes me ages to get out. We finally get out, and I'm so disgusted because I thought I was going to have this amazing experience. And I say to Grey Eagle, "Well, what was that all about then?" And he gives me the power sign. If you know the power sign, it's the fist pushed forward. It gives me the power sign, and he says the word power. It gives you power. And I'm thinking, didn't do a thing for me. Well, we went off. We spent the rest of our day however we did. We had dinner that night. I went to bed. Still disgusted, still feeling disappointed. I was very disappointed. But anyway, went to bed, went to sleep. Never thought any more about it. I woke up and I found myself standing in the middle of the bedroom, and there were 2 beds. Mine was behind me, and then there was another bed in front of me, and I was standing between the two beds. And I was sort of thinking, you know, what am I doing? I do occasionally get out of bed to pee. We all do. I didn't feel like that at all. I thought, what am I doing? What am I doing? I could see everything in the room. I could see the curtains where the curtains didn't quite meet and there was a chink of light from the outside. I could see the beds. I could see the bedside table. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I go back to bed. I'm thinking all of these things. So I turn to go back to bed and I glimpse over my shoulder, I glimpse myself in bed. I see myself all curled up, fast asleep, in bed. I think to myself, immediate thought, oh, this is what it must be like to be dead. That's what I think to myself. I have all of my senses. My hearing is perhaps a little more finely tuned. I can see everything in the room. I've looked down at myself. I'm there I'm standing in my nightie. I've still got looks to me like my physical body, which is when I realize, when I see myself curled up in bed, no, I'm actually in my etheric body and solid. If I punch myself or if I pinch myself, far more solid. The etheric body is not whatever it is, 80% water or whatever fluid. It's much more solid. It's much more real. And again, the etheric body, you know, when we hear stories of the ghost walking through the wall, we imagine that the ghost is of no substance walking through the solid wall. Well, I have to tell you that it's completely the other way around. It is the wall that has no substance, and it is the ghost or the person in the spirit world with their etheric body, which is walking straight through the wall with no difficulties whatsoever, because the etheric body is the most powerful and the strongest and the most incredible body that we have, completely indestructible. How is that possible? How is it possible? I can only tell you that it is, and I can only tell you that I have personally experienced it. So here I am, I'm in Egypt, and I've had this incredible experience, which wasn't incredible at all, over the pyramids, remember, and I'm very disappointed. I can only think, and even all these many, many years later, I can only think that there is power in the pyramid, and somehow or another, that power or that energy that I gathered from the pyramid, which is what Grey Eagle said to me, it gave you power. It gave me the power, the energy, the ability to leave my body, not just to leave my body and have this out-of-body experience, because I think we all do that. I think we all do it, but don't even know it and don't even realize it. But to know it, to understand it, to actually say, wow, look at this, look at me, look, oh, I can see. I'm in this bedroom and I can see all of this stuff. All of my 5 senses completely intact and in tune, but much more so than ever they are when I am on this earth plane. So here I am. And of course, my first words, as I told you, my first thought is, this is what it must be like to be dead. I remember thinking that very clearly. And my next thought was, so what do we do now? Where do we go now? Because I certainly, having this fabulous experience, do not want to go back into my body, which is behind me. I don't want to go back to sleep. I want to have an experience. I want to see what this feels like. And I'm hoping that Grey Eagle is going to take me somewhere or give me an experience that I will never forget. Well, thinking, talked about the power of the mind. If you think it, it becomes. So here I am thinking, what now? Where do we go now? let's go. And whoosh, so fast, so furious, so unbelievably fast. I don't even know I've moved. I've moved so fast, it doesn't even register that I've moved. And I find myself in amongst a whole group of people. And it's some kind of a party. And there I'm going to leave the story for another time. But I think the question was, do you have your 5 senses? Well, you have that 6th sense, because now all of those senses are in tune. And yes, you can see everything. You're aware of everything much clearer, much more so than you ever can when you're on this earth plane. Did I develop my 6th sense? I'm one of those lucky people. I have to tell you, there have been many times when I felt unlucky because I've not wanted this gift as clearly as it's been given to me, because it's not an easy gift to have. But mostly I'm one of those fortunate people. I think, look, very, very fortunate people. I have grey eagle with me, and I have not had to work at this. I'm going to tell you, I'm ashamed of saying this. Not really, but I don't meditate. Did I really say that? I don't meditate. When I meditate, it's right, I go on a journey and I'm talking to people in the spirit world. I don't have any time to meditate. So I have that normal, natural ability of this 6th sense. And I think you'll find when you investigate or you talk to mediums, you have mediums who are good, and then you have mediums who are beyond good. Anyone who has a natural ability, anyone who can sit down and play the piano without even knowing a note or being able to read music, you have that natural ability. They're always better at it, it seems, than those people who have to study hard. It's not fair, but there it is. And I think a natural medium is someone that I would advise any of you seeking a medium or seeking to have advice from a medium. Find a medium who has the natural ability, the natural gift, because they're the ones who have perhaps the ability to tune in perhaps clearer and a little bit better. If you need to know more, if you need to know more of that story, if you need to know more of my other stories, you can go to my website, www.rosemaryaltea.com. Yes, that's right, for the website. And if you want to email us or you have any other questions, and please keep them coming because we love them. If you have any other questions, please write to us. My email is rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. If you want to know more about me, if you want to come to any of my workshops, again, email us. I think I mentioned I'm doing something in Sarasota in September. We are having the morning workshop, and I'll be helping people to develop those 6 senses and to develop the ability to tune in. I'll be giving some exercises, some instruction, and some enlightening advice, I hope. In the afternoon, we're going to be talking to dead people who we know are not dead at all. So we're going to have an afternoon of my connecting. Hopefully, if they are willing, we're going to be connecting with the spirit world, and I'm going to be giving messages to the audience, and I'm going to be answering questions from people, questions that they might want to ask my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, questions that they might want to ask their loved ones in the spirit world. So we're going to be having an afternoon of connecting with and communicating with the spirit world. If you want to know more, I'd love you to join us. Please join us next time for our next question and answer. Thank you very much for being with us. God bless you.